Hi there, my name is Tercy Engelhardt, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the Unreasonably Grateful podcast, Living in Grace by Joyce. So, however you got here, whether you just dropped in because somehow it showed up on your algorithm, or you've been listening in for years now, or maybe somebody just told you about it, or however you happen to get here, welcome. I'm grateful to have you, and I hope that you hear something today that takes you on your next step of your own journey of becoming the best version of yourself, because that's what we're doing here. I don't have your answers, you do, but sometimes when we hear other people share tidbits of wisdom from their own personal story, we can relate. It's easier to relate to somebody else's story, what's going on in their life sometimes, than it is to see what's actually happening in our own. And it gives us a nudge or a little tidbit of wisdom that helps us take the next step. And in that process of ever becoming who we were created to be, embracing those divine qualities that we all have, whether they've ever been acknowledged, whether they've ever been developed, they're there. And it's my hope that you'll experience more of them yourself. Okay, so if you've been listening in, I'm kind of on this whole series about uh, my life and my life with my sister right now. And so I want to just continue on that a little bit. Thank you for all of you who shared messages with me after the last episode. And this episode is, embracing change, which is, there's then and now, or before and after, however you want to see that. And oftentimes we're drawn to that. We have a daughter who's interior design and designer, and she'll post before and after pictures. We watch them in people's transformations before and after. Two popped up on my algorithm today. One was somebody getting sober, a professional athlete getting sober. One was a professional singer losing weight. And it's like we all love those stories of victory, of people overcoming circumstances or situations in their life. And we love seeing how was it then and how is it now? And that's awesome. But we don't often think about that there's constant change going on. I mean, we've all heard that. The only thing that's constant in life is change. Well, today a dear friend came into the milk room while we were milking cows, and she asked me a question about aging. She wanted to know what was it like for me getting older. And I said, well, it's really a journey of accepting. You guys have walked through the issue I'm dealing with macular degeneration. Like, wow, how did my eyesight start to go? Because I always had great eyesight, never worried about my eyesight, never wore glasses, wore readers after like 45. And yet somehow I started to lose vision in my left eye. And so navigating that, being okay with that, even taking the brunt of my husband saying, what's going on? Put on your glasses. You can't see. And when I couldn't see with them on either. So, aging, it happens to all of us. And we're just not going to be young forever. And I think that's probably a good thing. And it's accepting it. It's like embracing it, because that's a change. And while there are times in our life where perhaps we've resisted change, there are times when we've wished things would change. We've kind of wondered if there might be a magic wand and it could change. Sometimes it's someone else or some situation, or maybe it's ourselves. But it's gradual. It doesn't happen all at once. I didn't lose the eyesight all at once. People don't lose their hair all at once. It's a gradual process. And one of the things that I notice in aging is that I'm always letting go. Things that in the past I would have fought harder for, I just surrender to. I don't fight for it anymore. There's less of a grip on perhaps things of this world, particularly things, but even situations or circumstances or conversations, those too. And so there's this releasing. It's aging happens gradually. It's a process. And so rather than try to resist it or even encourage it or however we might respond to whatever the change might be, I think it's a lesson in acceptance. So my sister's moving here in like a week, like the 1st of April, and this is the 22nd, I think. So the 1st of April. So it's a week, a little more than a week. And it's a big move for her. She's moving from just outside of Nashville. She's lived there for a long time. She's lived alone with family close by, a son and a granddaughter close by. And it's a big transition. And I'm encouraged and proud of how she's navigating this transition, like changing her medical insurance and changing her address and packing things up and closing up where she's living and getting on an airplane. She doesn't drive. And somebody's taking her son's taking her to the airport. She doesn't really like to fly, and showing up in a new place with only a small little video that I've showed her of, okay, here's the house, here's the cabin we're living in, here's your room, here's a chair that like a recliner, here's a rocker outside. She's stepping into that. She's done her own food, she's had her own ways, and she's also done her own personal healing. And one of the ways that we heal sometimes is we create some sense of order or control in our life. And she's releasing that. She's letting go of that. And I tell my granddaughter, who's recently done a similar thing and come here, I tell her, like, we don't know how it's going to go. It's just going to be one day at a time, which it always is. We just pretend like we know how it's going to go, but it only takes something happening, some sudden change. And all of a sudden, we have to renegotiate our relationship to what we call our reality and figure out how to navigate this, whatever this might be. And so this is about how do we embrace change? I think, first of all, it's like relating to it's always changing. Everything's changing. When you farm, you can see. I mean, right now, today, I put the lawn furniture out. Why? Because I don't think we're going to have any more snow. We'll have rain and it'll get cool. But I think we're done with winter. And now I could be wrong and I'd be out there brushing snow off. But it felt so good to just like unpack the lawn furniture and put it outside there. And it's like stepping into the next season and noticing as the cows notice, whoa, green grass is coming up from underneath what was a white carpet of snow just a few days ago. And that's looking delicious to them. And sunshine. I wrote Sonia, our neighbor, whose birthday it is today. Sonia, you got sun for your birthday. She loves sunshine. And in the winter, there's not a lot of it up here. And how beautiful that she got a sunny day for her birthday. So there's constantly change happening. So the key is embrace it. When you notice it, embrace it. Look for the goodness in it. Look for what it's bringing into existence. So, my friend was also asking me about how do you also deal with loss and then what's new? And what I shared with her was you hold both of them. You hold both of them. It's like there's the loss and then there's what's coming new. And you may be excited about what's new, but that doesn't mean that you also don't experience the sadness or the releasing of what has been lost. And oftentimes, people say you don't appreciate something till it's not there. You don't appreciate someone till they're not there. So, hey, you and I, we could appreciate more while it's here. And, one of the things I took on before we moved from our farm in California to northern Idaho, I loved the house we'd built. I loved what we grew on that farm. There wasn't anything about it that I didn't love. And I let myself experience and appreciate all that we had, even as I was letting go of it. And I love and appreciate what we have here. And I can still also appreciate what we had there. So it's like, can you hold those things in both hands? Can you be appreciative about the all of it? What was and what is? Can I love and appreciate every moment I had with my little scout? I can. And can I appreciate where I am now without her? I can. So that's the key this week as we enter into this last few weeks of this Lenten season. Can we let go and empty out, appreciate the emptying out as we begin to allow ourselves to let in, to be filled? And that's what I want you to take on this week. Be conscious about the change. Change is happening. It's happening all around you, all the time, in you, outside of you, all around you, in nature. It's constant. And so let's you and I take the time to embrace it this week, appreciate it, be grateful for it, because we don't have to just suffer in the letting go and the loss. We can also appreciate what was and also embrace what is, what's coming to be. So take that on. I'll be here next week. I can't wait until I get to see you then. And in the meantime, have a beautiful, beautiful week. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.